overjoyed again to come to this holy place, the Bhajan Kutir of Krishna Mahaprabhu. And this time, this year, though it's still the cool season, it's very warm in here. Because he's always improving better and better arrangements to serve all the Vaishnavas. So I'm very grateful to Krishna Mahaprabhu and his very devoted wife also. Hare Namaste Suchiputra Atra Surupam Rupam Tasakachamuripurim Maturim Goswaram Radha Kundamagirivaram Radhika Marvasam Praptoyasya Patita Kripaya Shri Guru Tam Natosmi Guravei Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Ananda Leelavaya Vigrahaya Prem Abhadivyacchavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bheda-abheda Shama Sundar Shikanda Shikar Smara Smali Banara Radhika Sukamama Kripanite Swapriya Charana Kuru Tavai Vasmi Najivavitaya Vina Jivikaya Devi Tam Nam Taranam. First of all, I have my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, a supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmatiya Paramaradhatama, Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravisht Om Vishnupad Ashtotarasata Sri Rupa Nugacharya Varya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Gurudev. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis.
Prem Prayojan ki jai.
Radharaman is so playful. I heard that here in New York, just very recently, you had the Holy Festival. Yes? You all celebrate Holi? Hooray! So when I get on the way here, all the color from the Holy Festival, it was in Balaram Prabhu's car. I didn't know, and I got in. So and also, no, I was late, but I had the chance to celebrate. Because Radhaman is so playful. By the causeless mercy of Sri Gauranga, we are coming together here for 3 days to discuss this very important contribution of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Bhajana-rahasya. Sri Bhajana-rahasya. Perhaps you know that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written one book called Sri Harinam Chintamani. And there, the theology of the holy name and the offenses to the holy name and how to overcome them, and instructions, general instructions about how to help the devotee in various stages. He becomes qualified for deeper and deeper realization until finally he enters into, by the power of the holy name, he enters into the eternal service of Radha and Krishna. So, in a general way, the glories of the holy name have been described there. But this Bhajana-rahasya gives the actual specific verses that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself, he used to meditate on during his bhajan. Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, when he was younger, he said, I used to watch Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. No, he's his father. But he never said he was my father. Because that he's the father of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. This is the worldly conception. So he never considered, he's my father. He would always only consider, he is the great Thakur Bhaktivinoda, the seventh Goswami, and the eternal associate of Sri Satchidananda Gauri. So he said, I used to observe him. And in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock in the morning, he would sit with his mala chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. And then, after some time, he would pause, he would stop. This is a very good sign. It is said, Srayangsi Bahu Bignani. If you are about to do something which is very auspicious, then at once the obstacles come. So this is a good sign. So we are discussing how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he said, when he was young, he saw Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur chanting the holy names, and then sometimes he would stop. And then he would pause for a moment and then call out a verse. Venu karan patitam skalitam shikandam rastanta picha brajaraja. He's calling out some verses from the writings of our Goswamis. Rastanta pita vachanam brajaraja suno yasya kataksha shadagacha vimurtitasya tamradika parichayena kadarasena. Or when will I have the opportunities to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna? At that time when Radhika glances towards Krishna, and her glance is so powerful, it's like an arrow that shoots him, and he drops his flute, he drops his peacock feather and pitambar and faints.
such verse like from Radharasa Sudhanidhi, or from Venu Geet, or Pranay Geet, or Gopi Geet. And then after singing the verse, then again he would chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, and sink into the deep moods of those transcendental verses describing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, realizing that Leela. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, though the Harinam Chintamani explains Nam Bhajan in principle, Bhajana-rahasya is the sequel to Harinam Chintamani, and it explains how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself personally did bhajan, the very verses that he was chanting in his pastime of going through the various stages of bhakti. So, first of all, we have to consider this text is called Bhajana-rahasya. So what is the meaning of bhajan? And what is the meaning of rahasya? So, many persons, they mix up archan and bhajan. Persons are thinking, I'm doing bhajan, but actually they're doing archan. They don't distinguish between the two. So what is the difference? First of all, there is Navada Bhakti, 9 types of bhakti. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanavanam, Dasam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So among those 9 types of bhakti, one of them is archan. And therefore archan is called bhajan anga. It's one of the limbs of bhajan. Bhajan means service. It's one of the limbs of devotional service. But the Harinam Sankirtan, the chanting of the pure holy name, that is called Samagra Bhajan. It is complete. It is complete. Dava Vida Bhakti Purna Nama Hoite Hoi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, all of the 9 angas of bhakti are completed. They're all perfect simply by chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In Archana, there is the Vigraha Seva, the service of the deity, and that service is performed with Sambram Gyan. Sambram Gyan means the knowledge of the Bhagavata, of the Godhood of Krishna. O Krishna, you are Bhagavan. You are Ishvara. That means you have all Aishwarya, all opulences. It's necessary. This knowledge is necessary in the beginning. Because without knowing that Krishna is God, how can we surrender to Him? Unless Krishna is all-powerful, all-pervading, and can protect, maintain, and support us in all ways, how can we give up the struggle for material existence and engaging exclusively in His service? So, first in Archan, there is Aishwarya. It is Aishwarya Gyan Yukta Maryada Buddhi. The service is according to Maryada, according to etiquette, according to rules and regulations. In this Archan, one offers the Upachar, Sodasha Upachar. According to rules and regulations of Archan, there are 16 types of offerings. Beginning with the flowers, offering an asan, inviting the deity to sit, Padya, washing the feet, the Archaman, washing the hands and mouth, offering Arghya, Madhuparka, and so on. Offering all these things in a system. So, taking the elements of this world, the physical objects of this world, and offering them to Krishna. And the devotee who's doing this archa, this worship, he is identifying with his body and mind. He has the sambandha with the stul sharir and shukshma sharir. He has not forgotten his body because he's actually serving, he's doing the archan with this body. So, even though he can say, I am not the body, But what is the realization? It's easy to say I'm not the body. But if we are identifying this body and we don't know anything beyond that, then we are bound to be situated in the Dehatma Buddhi, the consciousness that I am the body, even though theoretically we say I am not. So, the Archan process is like that. How is Bhajan? In Bhajan, there is Vishramba Seva. Vishramba Seva means one does not have fear. One does not see the Supreme Lord as Supreme Lord, but rather has a natural relationship, following the moods of the Brajabasis. Krishna is the son of Yashoda. Krishna is the friend of Subal and Manumanga. Krishna is the secret beloved of Brajagopis. So, in the actual bhajan, when one enters into bhajan, then the hot rays of the sunlight of knowledge of Krishna's Godhood, they begin to wane. And the moon of Krishna's sweetness rises in the heart. And the moon rays, the realization of Krishna's sweetness which is appearing in the heart, the amrita, the nectar of those moon rays is intoxicating, and it causes one to forget about Krishna's opulences and relate to him in a very natural way. In bhajan, that person who is doing bhajan, he's vimukta, he's liberated from all the bodily designations, from all the mayik upadis. You understand what an upadi is? If there's a crystal and you hold a red rose by the crystal, then you'll see red color reflecting in that crystal. The redness is not part of the crystal, but it is an upadi. It is not part of it. So, as long as we are afflicted by avidya, though our consciousness, we are transcendental, and our consciousness has nothing to do with this world, but our consciousness is filled with the upadis of material existence. So the person who's doing bhajan, his chitta is clean. And when he's absorbed in the holy name, at that time, there is no awareness of external things. So being in bhajan, one is vimukta, completely free from the mayik upadi, worldly designations. In actual bhajan, it is also bhavana atit. Bhavana atit. That means that if a devotee, he has associated with advanced Vaishnavas and listening to them, he has some realizations of Krishna. And he has a Garda Sanskar, deep impressions in his heart of the sweetness of Krishna and the sweetness of Vrindavan. So then, when he begins to chant, then he meditates, he does bhavana on those impressions that he has received by mercy. But when Vishuddha Sattva, there is an influx into his heart of Vishuddha Sattva, the transcendental internal potency of the Lord. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. Already he has some of that. But when more Shuddha Sattva comes, the heart becomes flooded with that Vishuddha Sattva, and now he's not meditating on the impressions of his Garda Sanskar, deep impressions of previous realizations that came by mercy, but rather he just enters into that world and there's a flow of new experiences. So Vetiti Bhavana Vatma Yaschamakara Bharabu Chitesatsu Chule Bharam Swajate Sarasomata. His Bhav Bhakti turns into Rasamai Bhakti. So this is really bhajan. Those who are chanting and the transcendental Vishuddha Sattva is flooding their heart and they experience the direct service of Radha and Krishna. They experience the Sakshat Sannidhya. Sannidhya means being very close to Radha and Krishna. And that bhajan experience is Kal Atit. It is beyond time. It is Atindriya. That means it is beyond the experience of the senses of this world. So you can see there's a very big difference from the consciousness and the experience of the person doing archan and the consciousness and the experience of the person doing bhajan. Is it similar? It's not similar at all. There's a huge, huge difference. But if a person in this world, still having body identification, they take their mala and they're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and thinking whatever, trying to remember something about Krishna that they heard from Guru, they may say, I am doing bhajan. But are they really doing bhajan? Are they kalatit beyond all time? Are they beyond sensory experience? Is the heart being flooded with Vishuddha Sattva? Are they experiencing the direct service of Sri Krishna? No. So there's a very huge difference. So our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami, he used to say, when you say you are doing bhajan, actually you are doing archan. Because in archan is not only the service of the deity, but as long as we remain on the prakrit platform, then even our kirtan, our chanting, and our hearing, and our remembrance is all part of the anga of bhakti, which is called archan. Understand this? You see? It's all part of because the actual pure chanting, there is a direct experience. In pure hearing, there's direct experience. So when we are engaged in hearing, chanting, and remembering, but the pure experience is not coming, and one has not gone beyond the Maryada Buddhi, the sense of etiquette in regard to Krishna, and the awareness of his godhood, then one is still on the level of archan. So, archan is a special vyavastha. It's a special arrangement to purify the Konishta Adhikaris, those who are still on the material platform. Yeah. Now, Gurudev used to say that when you are doing the bhajan, you think I'm doing bhajan, actually you're doing archan. Said, but when you see me doing archan, actually I'm doing bhajan. Yeah. So if it looks a very high level pure Vaishnava, like our Gurudev, if he'll go before the deities and offer prayers or offer arti, we're thinking, oh, he's doing archan now. But actually, he is completely beyond time, beyond the gunas, and the flow of Vishuddha Sattva is there in the heart, and he's experiencing a very intimate, loving relationship without even awareness that Krishna is Bhagavan. So, it depends on one's level of consciousness. So this is the discussion in regard to the meaning of the word bhajan. Now, what is the meaning of the word rahasya? The word rahasya means a gura, guru padishta vishay. Vishay means a subject. Guru padishta means the subject which is instructed, the upadesh, which is instructed by the guru. So guru upadishta vishay, which is gura. Gura means very profound and secret. So that profound secret instruction with subject matter which is explained by the guru can only be received by the disciple, and it is only gyatavya. Gyatavya means it must be known. It is to be known only by Parama Sradalujan. Parama Sradalujan. Those disciples who have very deep faith. Very deep faith. What is faith? Strada Shabde Vishwash Kohe Surdida Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarvakama Kritahoy. The word Srada means Sudrida Nishchay, an unflinching confidence and certainty that simply by serving Sri Krishna, engaging in devotional service to Sri Krishna, all of my other responsibilities, all other karmas have been automatically fulfilled. So this is the Shraddha. If someone actually has received this Paramatik Shraddha, transcendental faith, then there is some symptom in that person's life. And that symptom is Sharanagati. Depending on Krishna. Of the 6 angas of Sharanagati, the main one, the angi on which all the others depend, is Goptritve Bharana. Goptritve means the maintenance, the support. And Bharan means to select. We have to select or accept someone is our maintainer. After that, then the other angas you can do. For example, let's say accept everything that is favorable. Reject everything which is unfavorable. But favorable to what? Unfavorable to what? First you have to select who is your shelter. Who will protect us? Who will maintain us? And then from that the limbs come out. We should do everything which is favorable for the happiness of our maintainer. Reject everything which is unfavorable for the happiness of our maintainer. We should have confidence, Rakshishati Vishvaso, that our maintainer, that person we have selected, will protect us in any danger or in any difficulty. To always be humble. And that means to always realize that I am the servant of Sri Krishna. And whatever service I have done, it is very insignificant. I have never done enough. I have failed. We see advanced devotees. Once Gurudev was telling me about his own guru. I remember it was after class and we were walking up the stairs back to his room, his Bhajan-kuti in Mathura. And as we were going up to the stairs, Gurudev stopped and he turned around. I was on the lower step behind him. And he said, at the end of his pastimes in this world, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj would cry and say, oh, I made so many mistakes. I never really served my Gurudev. Now, if we had opened so many mats everywhere, made parikrama from scratch, and it became thousands and thousands of people, and had really qualified disciples like Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Pravikram Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, and thousands of others, had protected the Sampradaya and the teachings of Srila Bhakti-Santa Thakur from the attacks of so many different Smarta Brahmins and Sahajas and so on. If we had done all that kind of service, then perhaps we might feel a sense of accomplishment. Okay? But see the heart of the pure devotee. Oh, I made so many mistakes. I have not served enough. And Gurudev said, he cried, oh, why? After Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur disappeared, why did I support Ananta Vasudev, Srila Ananta Vasudev at that time? It's caused some chaos in the mission at that time. And he was lamenting, looking back on his life, and only seeing what he thought were faults and weaknesses and lacking in himself. Of course, he's a personality who is way beyond the Sharanagati that we need to enter into Bhakti. But Sharanagati doesn't stop there. It just becomes greater and greater Sharanagati. So that humility is there. And the Atmanivedan means to consider, to offer my Atma. But to who? You have to select your guardian first. I'm trying to emphasize this point. Why Gopitve Bharana is the Angi, and all the other Angas of Sharanagati are related to that. So Atmanivedan is to offer oneself. Oh my Lord, everything belongs to you, nothing belongs to me, even my own soul does not belong to me, my soul belongs to you. So, if a person has received the Shraddha, Paramatic Shraddha, there will be some symptom in their life. The outer symptom is Sharanagati. So, that person who is actually Param Shradaluja, the person who has that transcendental faith, the confidential instruction that he must receive from Sri Guru, that is called Rahasya. So now we have covered the meaning of these two words, Bhajan-rahasya. Now we want to go to address the structure of Bhajan-rahasya. The structure of Bhajan-rahasya is very beautiful, and it's described in the words of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But when my Gurudev, when he published this Bhajan-rahasya, along with a commentary as well, he published it with a chart. Perhaps you've seen the chart. And the chart graphically shows the overall, just at a glance, you can see the overall structure of Bhajan-rahasya, instead of just trying to piece it together in your mind from the various paragraphs of text. So Gurudev, he was very, he did a great service. It was very helpful to everyone. See this? Oh, you can just hold it up. So, does everyone know this? Yeah. Yes, yes. So it graphically illustrates the overview of the whole book and the different levels of the teachings in Bhajan-rahasya. So, actually, Srila Gurudev, he used to very often during Kartik give classes on this Bhajan-rahasya, as did Bhakti Pragyan Keshav and Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. He was the first one to give classes during Kartik Parikrama on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his Shiksha Guru's Bhajan-rahasya. And those classes, they were transcribed, and then the transcriptions were given to Gurudev, and Srila Gurudev went through and he added some things, removed some things, and gave some extra comments. And it became this commentary on Bhajan-rahasya. So, by his causeless mercy, I had the opportunity to be with him when Gurudev was writing this commentary. And he was staying, we just left Vrindavan, and we're heading off on a tour, the winter tour. So we were going to Southeast Asia and Australia and in that direction. So we're in the Philippines. There's one island in the Philippines, Cebu, the island of Cebu, and it's very rural. And Gurudev was staying with just a couple of devotees on the beach there, and he would chant on the beach in the morning and come back. And when he came back, then he would speak with us. He said, "Oh, I'm remembering Jagannath Puri here." And then he said to me, "You should always be with Raghunath Das Goswami in Jagannath Puri, along with Swarup Damodar and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can think like this. Don't be absorbed in the things of this world. Enter into the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so absorbed day and night in chanting and relishing the discussions of Harikatha with Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai at night. And in the night time, Raghunath Das Goswami would stay in his asana, that is by the Satasan mat in Puri. And he would be waiting. And he cannot sleep at night. And he will be waiting for Swarup Damodar to return from the Gambhira to receive the fresh news. What were the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that night? So Gurudev used to say that Raghunath Das Goswami, he was just like a calf. When it's milking time, they bring the calf close to the mother and tie the calf with a short rope called the niryog, the rope which keeps the calf just a short distance away from the mother. And the baby calf is pulling on the rope and wants to drink the milk. So Raghunath Das Goswami was like that calf. Oh, when will Swarup Damodar Goswami come back? When will he come back? And then he would see him coming and give pranam and ask, what happened in the Gambhira last night? And Swarup Damodar Goswami would give him the fresh news every day of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So Gurudev said, oh, you should remember, be absorbed in these things. Don't be thinking of the worldly news and views. So at that time, he was writing his commentary on Bhajan-rahasya. And Gurudev said, as I am writing this commentary, I am realizing how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the form of Kamala Manjari, is entering into the Leela of each verse in Bhajana-rahasya. So that means in the later chapters, the earlier verses take us through the earlier stages of spiritual life. But from the end even of the third chapter, and a little bit in the fourth chapter, then definitely by the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth chapters, then it starts to go really into the very beautiful moods of Braj Gopis and the maidservants of Radhika. So Gurudev said that as I am writing, I am realizing how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, absorbed in his identity as Kamala Manjari, is experiencing the pastimes in each of these verses. So this book was very dear to Gurudev. Now the structure of Bhajana-rahasya is, it's essentially a commentary on the Mahamantra. What is this Mahamantra? The Mahamantra has 16 names. And these names are in pairs. So the Mahamantra is composed of 8 Yugal Nams. Yugal Nam. Yugal means pairs. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. 8 Yugal Nams. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has given a commentary explaining the meaning of these 8 Yugal Nams. And the commentary on each Yugal Nam is Shikshastakam. So the first Yugal Nam, the meaning of the first Yugal Nam is given in the first verse of Shikshastakam. And then the second Yugal Nam is explained in the second verse of Shikshastakam. and like this all the way through. Then we can also see it in this way, that the first verse of Shikshastakam, Chaito Darpanam Marjanam Tava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shaya Kairva Chandrika Vitarnam Vittivatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Svadanam Sarvatmastapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This first verse describes the first Yugal Nam and the first stage of Bhakti also. So the first stage of Bhakti is Shraddha, faith. So the reason that this first verse of Shikshastakam corresponds to our first stage of Bhakti faith is because in this verse Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is essentially advertising the features and benefits of the holy name. Right? In this first verse of Shikshastakam, Mahaprabhu is saying that there are 7 wonderful transcendental effects of chanting the holy name. And when a person who doesn't know the truth of the holy name hears from a qualified Vaishnava, you should chant the holy name. Why? Because of these 7 wonderful effects that you will receive. When you believe that, now you've developed faith. Right? So in this way, the first verse of Shikshastakam corresponds to our first stage of Bhakti, faith, because it is the pronouncement of the value of the holy name. And by hearing we think, yes, I trust that if I will chant the holy name, all of these results will come, and therefore I should invest my time, I should invest my energy, I should invest my heart and my life fully in Harinam Bhajan. So, then, the other 7 verses of Shikshastakam, they describe the other stages of development. So, the second verse of Shikshastakam, Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasava Shaktish. Oh my Lord, you have invested all your potencies in your holy names, and you allow us to easily approach you. It's amazing. Where is Krishna? Krishna is everywhere. But in our conditioned state, we cannot see him. But by chanting the holy name, when the clouds of Maya dissipate, then we'll see that Krishna is right there before us. He was always there. He was never not there. The sun of Krishna was always shining, but we were covered by the dark clouds of ignorance and offenses. So Mahaprabhu says, "Oh my Lord, you're so kind that you allow us to easily approach you. But Durdaiva mitrishami ajaninan raga. Durdaiva, by ill fortune, due to the reactions of my offenses, yajaninano raga, I don't feel an intense hankering for chanting. I don't feel an overwhelming attraction that I must do this. I don't have taste. I don't feel utkanta, a desperation that I cannot live without this name." That's actually the natural condition of the soul. It's the natural condition of the soul to be the dying of thirst to serve Krishna. That's the natural condition of the soul in his liberated, perfected state. So, this second verse of the Shikshastaka corresponds to the next three stages of bhakti. So the first verse was Shraddha, then next three stages of bhakti, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, and Anartha Nivritti. Now the question comes, why? Why is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying that this verse encapsulates these three stages of bhakti? And the reason is that, first of all, that lamentation, that feeling of regret, alas, alas, I don't feel hankering for chanting the holy name. That lamentation, that repentance will not come without sadhu sangha. And this is the sign that we've actually associated with the sadhu. If we come in the proximity of a sadhu, we're just like physically close to a sadhu, like a mosquito is also on the sadhu's lap, but sucking blood. But the mosquito is not really doing sadhu sangha. The sign that we actually do sadhu sangha is that we begin to feel repentance. Hari, Hari, Bifale Janama Koinu, Manusya Janama Payo, Radha Krishna Nabojya, Janiya Shuniya Bisha Kohinu, Hari, Hari, Bifale Janama Koinu. Oh Hari, I have wasted my life, I have wasted so much time. I attained this human form of life, but I have not done bhajan, I have not served Radha and Krishna. And therefore I am like a person. You know, if a person, as someone puts poison in a bottle, but it's not marked poison, it's marked something else. Lemonade. Yeah. And then you drink it, then you find, it's poison. Then you'll lament. It's tragic. But if a person knowingly drinks poison, how much more terrible it is. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur, I am like that. Actually, I knew full well what I was doing. But because I was insubordinate to Guru, because I was not malleable, because I was not pliable, because I was not submissive to the instructions of Sri Guru, in full knowledge, I've gone and I've drunk the poison of materialistic association and materialistic worldly activities. Alas, alas. So, in the second verse of Shikshastakam, this verse is poetry, but it's a performative. That means Mahaprabhu is not telling us what to do, but he's showing us what to do by what he's doing. Mahaprabhu himself is lamenting in the second verse of Shikshastakam to show us that this repentance, this contrition is the entrance. That is the sign that we actually had sadhu sangha, and is the entrance into bhajana kriya, and the entrance into anartha nivritti. Because we cannot give up our anarthas while we actually like our anarthas. If we like our misbehavior and worldly attachments, how can we give it up? So this is very important. And now, it's very interesting. There are 8 pairs of Yugal Nams. There are 8 stages of bhakti which are being revealed here. There are 8 verses of Shikshastakam. But how many effects are there of the holy name? How many wonderful effects of the holy name are there? That are described. Count them. 7. Yes, there are 7. Chaitodapana Majanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Vatapan, Shri Kayuk Chanika Vijanam, Vidivarinam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Patipadam Punamritasvadanam, Savatmastapanam. So there are 7. You see? So, this is another, because we're discussing the structure, the correlations. So, there are 7 wonderful effects of the holy name described in the first verse of Shikshastakam. And so, because there are 8 verses in Shikshastakam, there are 7 verses left. And each one of the 7 verses explains, is a commentary on each one of the 7 wonderful effects. You see? That's why Shikshastakam has 8 verses, but there are 7 wonderful effects. Because the first one makes your faith, and it's like the contents page. It's the contents of the rest of Shikshastakam. Chapter 1, chapter 2, and then each verse, each of the 7 verses of Shikshastakam is then an expanded, it's unpacking each one of the 7 wonderful effects of chanting which have been listed in the first verse. Are you getting some idea of the structure? Yeah. So, now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says that this Shikshastakam and these 8 Yugal Nams can also be interpreted in 2 ways. The stages that we're discussing so far, Shraddha, faith, then Sadhu Sangha, Anartha Nivriti, Bhajana-kriya, Anartha Nivriti. So, just to make that very clear, how the first verse is the list of the 7 effects. And so the second verse is the description of the first effect. So what is the first effect? Chaito Darpana Majan, that the mirror of the heart becomes cleansed. And so, the second verse, Nam Namakari Bahudani Sav Shaktis, is showing that when one chants the holy name in a repentant mood and weeping for one's fallen condition, with Sambandha Gyan, knowing that the holy name and Krishna and all of his Shaktis are non-different, then Chaito Darpana Marjanam will take place. But because the verse corresponds also to Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, so the cleansing of the heart will take place when we have Kirtan and Harikatha in Sadhu Sangha. The feeling of lamentation will come from Sadhu Sangha. And then when we do Bhajana Kriya, we engage in the activities of bhakti under the guidance of a pure sadhu, then Anartha Nivriti, the unwanted desires and attachments are removed, and that is described poetically as Chaito Darpana Marjanam, cleaning the dust away from the mirror of the heart. You see. So, now, even though each of these verses, the third verse, Trinada Pisuni Chena, describes Nishta. It describes Nishta. This is a very interesting point. In the Yoga Sutras, Sri Patanjali, he explains that Tada Drastu Sarupe Vastanam. It means that when the chitta becomes steady, it's free from oscillation, the basis of the psychological body is no longer disturbed by attachments and aversions. When the chitta vrittis become restrained, then automatically you intuitively no longer identify with the body and mind, but you see, I am Atma. And you become a witness. The witness towards you see. The body and mind is something external. You can see it from the objective vantage point. And you're situated in the nature of your soul. But he says that vritti swarupyam itaratra, which means as long as the mind is unsteady, as long as there's mental turbulence and psychological modifications, then you must identify with those psychological modifications. So what happens? Nishta means that the chitta becomes steady, the waves of the worldly thoughts die down, and then Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that poetically saying, Janada peace nature, you become more humble than a blade of grass. You see? Because one may say, how can you become more humble than a blade of grass? Someone may say the president or the king is an important person, and then his minister is the next most important person, and you can come all the way down to the person sweeping the streets, he's less important. And then you can come down to the dog in the street, is less important. But once you get down to the grass, then where will you go from there? It's so insignificant. But the thing is this, the grass has the ego, I am a grass. See? So he's still, though he's insignificant from a worldly perspective. He still has an ego related to the world, no matter how small that might be. So trinada pisu nichena means to not have any ego at all related to this world. Nothing. And that happens when the chitta becomes cleansed of all the modulations and becomes steady. Then one can intuitively understand that I'm spiritual, and the gross body and the subtle body, they're completely external to me. They're outside, out there somewhere. And so as soon as a person realizes that he's not a material being, he's a spiritual being, then he's immortal and nothing can hurt him. So what happens? The fire, the blazing forest fire of material existence, the existential struggle and the fear, the threat of that we see, that we're in a hostile environment in this world. It's just gone. The fire of material existence has been completely extinguished. So see how the third verse of Shikshastakam, Pranada Pisunichena, is the commentary on Bhava Mahadavagne Nirapanam. That the fire of material existence has been extinguished, and it corresponds with the stage of Nishta, Ekagrata Chitta, the steadiness of the Chitta. So it's very beautiful. So many people know this Shikshastakam. But when the seventh Goswami explained it, then we really see what a tremendous gift that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given to the world, showing us the path of Nam Bhajan. So then, the fourth verse, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarin Kavitamba Jagadishakame Mama Janmani Janmani Shri Bhavatat Bhakti Hoit Kitwai. This is the stage of Ruchi. Why is that? Because when you come to Nishta, steadiness, then you don't do sins anymore. Generally, pap. There could be some accidents sometimes, even as long as the physical body is still there, sometimes problem may come. But as a general, we can say that the pap, the sins have gone from the life of that person. But in Nishta, the samskar, the impressions of sins, that's called papa bij. The samskars, the impressions in the heart of some sinful activities are still there. And as long as the mind is still sometimes disturbed, the devotee doesn't do sins, but sometimes a sinful thought may come. Then he cannot really relish pure bhakti. But when ruchi comes, then ruchi is defined as ruchihi, papa bij nashad. Bhakto madhurya anubhavaha. When there is the destruction not only of sins, sinful activities, but even the seed of sin, the impressions in the heart have been destroyed, then one can experience the madhurya anubhav, the realization of Krishna's sweetness. And so, in that stage that is ruchi, the devotee, he says it for real. Nadanam, I don't want money. Everyone say, Nadanam.
Nadanam.
But is it true? Do you want money or not? It's easy to say, Nadanam, I don't want money. But do you not want money? In the stage of ruchi, because the experience of Krishna's sweetness is so much awakening in the heart, then the devotee really says, I don't want money, nadanam, najanam, I don't want progeny, family members, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I don't want followers. Kavitamba, I don't want to be famous as a great pandit, to be a learned poet. Because that's great, that's huge prestige in Vedic society. In Vedic society, even the kings, they're searching here and there, trying to find pandits and kavis, and to offer them, please live in my palace. They were the prestige of the king if he could collect some great kavis. Just like King Lakshman Sen, he's famous, he had 6 famous poets living in his court, Jaidev Goswami, Govindacharya, Umapati Dhara, Doi Kavi, Shrutidhara. So, that's a great prestige to be a famous pandit, poet. Mahaprabhu says, Kavitamba Jagadishakami. I don't want this. So then what do you want? Mama Jammani, Hoitaki Bhakti Toi. I want that just this spontaneous devotion will awaken in my heart at every second. Because in Ruchi, you experience the taste of Krishna's sweetness, but not at every second. In the stage of Ruchi, it's called the Buddhi Purvaka. That the devotee takes his mala, and then by his intention, he thinks, now I'll remember Krishna. And he begins to utter a verse, like the verses from Ruchi's, the 4th chapter of Bhajana-rahasya. He may utter a verse of the 4th chapter of Bhajana-rahasya, and then he applies his intelligence to that and chants the holy name, and then he begins to feel the sweetness. So the sweetness doesn't come to him spontaneously, but he has to make an effort. So it's called Buddhi Purvaka. And therefore he prays, oh, I don't want that. I want to be in that stage where Mama Janmani Shray Bhavatat Bhakti Hoitakrichari, lifetime after life, this the relishment of your sweetness, this devotion is awakening at every moment, effortlessly. So he knows that because he has to make that effort, that he's still far away from his attainment. So then, Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Or we can say that that stage of Ruchi is described in the first verse. Where? Where in the first verse is Ruchi described? Sreyakaiva Chandrika Vitaranam. Yes. That the lotus of good fortune is opened by the rays of the moon. Because a night blooming lotus, when it's touched by the rays of the moon, it opens. So the meaning here is this, that in the stage of Ruchi, there's a realization of Krishna and his sweetness, but it's not a direct darshan. It's a reflection. In other words, the holy name, the pure name, is in transcendental, and some rays, the abhas of the pure name, is touching the heart and giving the abhas of realization. Because the chitta is like a mirror, and there's a reflection of, not directly seeing Krishna, but seeing the reflection of Krishna in the mirror of the heart. And that causes the heart to open. So it's like the rays of the pure name, that is the Shraddha Nama Bhas, touching the heart, and more realization is unfolding. So it's called the Shreyakari Rachandrika Vitaranam, the stage of Ruchi, and the 4th verse of Shikshastakam. Then the next verse, Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkram. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your kinkar. This corresponds to asakti. Because if you see in the other verses of Shikshastakam, like in the 2nd verse, Eitadashi tava kripa Bhagavan. He talks to the holy name, you are Bhagavan. In the, even in the stage of Ruchi, Mama Janmani Jamani Ishwari, oh my Ishvara. But now in the stage of Asakti, he says, Nanda Tanuja, O son of Nanda Maharaj. It corresponds to Asakti. Because in Asakti, there is not only the abhas of Krishna's form and qualities and associates, but the abhas of your own swarup. And so because in that stage, the abhas of your own swarup is shining in the heart, then one can address Krishna, O son of Nanda Maharaj. It's a very intimate, like family relationship. But at the same time, there's some one comes out from his meditation and sees I am in this world, but cannot forget that intimate relation. Oh, son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your servant, but I have fallen into this material existence. Please pick me up and accept me like a dust at your lotus feet. So that is the stage of asakti. Now, in the first verse of Shikshastakam, which phrase is describing asakti? Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. So it can be seen in many ways, but two are prominent. That is that this holy name is the Jivanam. It is the life and soul of Vidya, transcendental knowledge. The transcendental knowledge of the spiritual world. And so that transcendental knowledge is compared to a young bride, a Vadhu. Vadhu means a young woman who just got married, a newly married bride. So just as a newly married bride never serves anyone else, she only serves her husband. She's completely focused on the husband and serving him. So in the same way, transcendental knowledge of the spiritual world never serves karma, jnana, yoga, tapasya, or any other method you want to do. It never serves pranayama or whatever, crystals or astrology or whatever airy-fairy new age ideas people have. They'll never get transcendental knowledge from this. Because the goddess of transcendental knowledge is very, very chaste, and she only serves Nam Sankirtan. This is the one meaning, a general meaning. But more deeply, here is Vidya Vadhu, that you can realize that you are a Vadhu. That you are newly married bride, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays. Prishabhanu Pure Janamaloibo Javate Vipahave. When will that day come? When I will be born in Prishabhanupur in Varasana. And then when I grow up, when will my hand be given in marriage to a gop, a cowherd boy, in the village of Yavat? Which will be very convenient because Radharani will be married to Abhimanyu. When Radharani moves from Varasana to Yavat, if I'm also married to a gop in Yavat, I'll also have to go to that village. So I can continue serving Shrimati Radhika there. So in the stage of asakti, then one can realize, oh, I am Vadhu. My hand has been given in marriage to a gop in Yavat, and so I can go to that village and serve Radhika there. The stage of asakti. So in this way, we're just giving an overview of the structure of the Mahamantra, the structure of the Shikshastakam, and how it describes the stages of bhakti, and how the last 7 verses of Shikshastakam are the expanded explanation of the 7 important points expressed in the first verse. These things. There's another aspect to the structure of this Bhajana-rahasya, and that is that all of these stages refer to the life of the Ajata Rati Sadak. The Sadak means the practicing devotee who is Ajata Rati. Rati refers to Bhav, which is the goal of our sadhana. And Ajata means not born yet. Jat means born or appeared. So Ajata Rati Sadak means the devotee in whose heart the goal of sadhana, Bhav, has not yet appeared. So these stages, Sraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Anatta Nivritti, Bhajana Kriya, Anatta Nivritti, Nishna Ruchi, Asakti, that's all the pre-Bhav stage. And then Bhav comes, Rati and Prem. So the last 2 verses of Shikshastakam refer to Prem in separation and then Prem in meeting. So the verses of Shikshastakam and the 8 Yugal Nams also have a meaning for the devotees who have attained Rati. So they're called Jata Rati Sadak. The Jata Rati Sadak, the Sadak who has realized Rati. So for him, for that devotee, in the first Yugal Nam, he's meditating on the first yam, or the first portion of the day of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. So Radha and Krishna's pastimes, they go on 24 hours a day. And so the day is divided into 8 portions. They're called Astayam. So you have the first chapter of Bhajana-rahasya is called Pratanyam Sadhan, the sadhana of the first yam. And that is called Nishanta Kalin Bhajan, Nishanta Lila. So each yam is 2 hours and 24 minutes long. Except for the midday time and the midnight time, then the yam is twice as long. 4 hours and 48 minutes. And so the pastimes of Radha Krishna, beginning from Nishanta Lila, that means the end of night, that's from 3:36 in the morning. 3:36 to 6 o'clock. 2 hours and 24 minutes. To 6 o'clock. That is the Nishanta Lila, end of night pastimes, where Radha Krishna waking up in a kunj and then they have to secretly return to their homes. Then from 6 o'clock to 8:24 is the Prata Lila, early morning pastimes. When Radha Krishna, they're in their separate homes, they wake up, Krishna has to milk the cows, then take a bath, and take breakfast. And Radhika wakes up and she talks with some of her Sakhis, and then she's dressed and decorated and so on. So then there is after the Prata Lila, then there's the Purvan Lila from the 8:24 to 10:48. That is the forenoon pastimes. Krishna goes to take the cows to graze in the forest and so on. Then there's the Madhyan Lila from 10:48 to 3:36. It's a long pastime. Those are the pastimes of Radha Krishna at the Radha Kund. And also when Radhika goes for Surya Puja and Krishna disguises himself as a Brahmin to try to still associate with Radhika. And then you have so there's the Purvan Lila, and then the noon pastimes, and then the Aparan Lila, that is from 3:36 in the afternoon to 6 o'clock. Krishna's returning with he gets all the cows together and he's bringing them back to the village. So that from 6 o'clock to 8:24, that is called Shayan Lila. And then from 8:24 till 10 o'clock is Pradosh Lila. So in the evening, Krishna takes his evening meal. He goes with Nanda Maharaj and others to the theatre, and there's some entertainment. And all the Brijbasis watch some magicians, some dancers, some jugglers, and different types of entertainment. And then Sri Krishna takes rest in the Pradosh Lila. From the 8:24 till 10:28. 10:48, yes. And then Sri Krishna leaves and goes to the forest, and then there's the Rasa Lila goes on during the night. And then Radha Krishna take rest, and then at 3:36 in the next morning, then we begin again the Nishanta Lila. So the 8 Yugal Naams are actually the embodiment of the eternal pastimes of Radha Krishna going on 24 hours a day. So in each chapter of this Bhajana-rahasya, first Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the meaning of that stage to the Ajata Rati Sadak, and then at the end he gives a brief description of the Astakali Lila for the devotee who is in the stage of Rati, who has attained Rati. So that's the overall structure. Now let's begin with the first chapter. So we only have 3 days, so it's difficult to go into great detail, but I just want to pick some important verses that you can think about and for our prayers. And so we can chant Hare Krishna and then sometimes stop and then utter those prayers and then chant again. So it's very interesting that in the first chapter, Pratamiyam Sadhan, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he quotes from the Rig Veda. This is a very important mantra of the Rig Veda. Om Masya Jananto Nama Chid Vivaktan Mahaste Vishnu Sumatim Bhajamahe Om Tat Sat. The sages in the Rig Veda are praying, "Oh my Lord, we know that you exist, but we don't know you personally. Our knowledge is very limited. But How wonderful it is. Nama chid viviktan. That your name is transcendental. And by vivaktan, that means repeating your name again and again. Doing akshar abhyas, repeating the syllables of your name. Then mahaste Vishnu sumatim bhajamahe. We will attain sumati. We'll attain a direct realization of you. We'll move from the stage of only knowing you theoretically to knowing you practically. In a wonderful way, we'll have sumati, a very beautiful awareness of you. Why? Because Om Tat Sat. Here, Om means the holy name. Tat means that absolute truth. So Om and Tat, they are the same thing. There's no difference between Om and Tat. The holy name, Abhinatvam Nama Namino, the holy name and the named are one reality. Om Tat Sat. And Sat means Swata Siddha, Swayam Prakash. That the holy name is self-existent, eternal, and he reveals himself. In other words, we don't have to depend on our imagination. We don't have to depend on any type of creative visualization. Only Sevan Mukhi Jivado. Our tongue has to be attentive to serving the holy name by repeating the syllables of the holy name. It's as simple as that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jayavadharma explains, Kirtaniya Sadahari, one should chant continuously. This continuous chanting is understood to be at least 64 rounds. So 64 rounds, it doesn't take 24 hours. Someone can chant 64 rounds in about 5.5 hours. It doesn't take the whole day. 6 hours. So you have 6 hours to sleep, 6 hours to chant. You still have 12 hours to do everything else. Right? So, but Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that if a person is only chanting, whatever, 5 or 6 hours, once they come to that stage, then throughout the rest of the day, the name will becoming automatic. It will always be in the mind. It's like one will come to the critical point where one has overcome distraction of the world. And the name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, it's always coming in the mind and the tongue is naturally, without effort, chanting. So, Namachit Vivaktan. The sages of the Rig Veda are saying, it's a wonderful thing that just by becoming attentive, the tongue is attentive to serving the syllables of the name, then Swayameva Spuratyuda, the holy name, will begin to reveal himself. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes another verse from the Hari Bhakti Vilas in this first chapter, which is very important. Jaina Janma Shratai Purvam Vasudeva Samarchitaha Tanmukhe Harinamani Sadatishtanti Bharata. The meaning is, those persons who have perfectly and strictly worshipped the deity of Krishna for 100 Shatai. Actually, Shatai means 100 and Shatai is in the blue. Those who have perfectly worshipped the deity of Krishna according to all rules and regulations for hundreds of lifetimes, then Tanmukhe Harinamani Sadatishtanti Bharata, the name of Krishna is always situated on his tongue. Now see the difference between Archan and Bhajan. There's a difference between Archan and Bhajan. So, if a person will think, I should chant the holy name, and I should speculate, I should imagine, I'm in the Leela and I'm doing some service, like this. Actually, they're just trying to do Archan in the mind. Because the Leela is transcendental, it's not, the mind cannot even imagine it. It's impossible. Nard Muni has said, Sradat Swana Nabhutorto Namanas Prastum Ahati. Nard Muni said, hey Yudhishthira Maharaj, you should know for certain from me that the mind cannot touch anything it has not experienced previously. It's like a computer. If you type something in the computer, afterwards you can come back and from the memory you can find out what's there. But you can't find out things that you didn't put in there. So in the same way, your mind cannot produce things which have not been put in there by a previous experience in this world. So, only when the mind becomes steady and like a mirror, when the heart has become cleansed, then the holy name will begin to reveal the reflection of the divine realm in the purified mind. So those persons who are mixed up, they don't know the difference between archan and bhajan, instead of serving Krishna just physically, serving the deity, they say, oh, I'll serve Krishna in my mind. But that's not bhajan. It's still just a mental version of archan. Understand? But they may think that they're doing bhajan. And one of the things is that they may think that if I don't do this, the name won't reveal itself to me. And now that becomes Tadatavado Harinam Nikalpanam. To consider the glories of the holy name described in the Vedas, we're just discussing the Rig Veda, to be an exaggeration or to be imagination. So how is it possible? How is it if I just chant Hare Krishna and repeat the syllables of Krishna's name that Krishna is going to give me his darshan? How is that possible? No, I have to add some extra spices from my past impressions. Otherwise the holy name won't work. So the devotee who's thinking that he's the mental archan is really bhajan, has the tendency to commit namaparad, and therefore it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That yes, how can the holy name just reveal Krishna to me? It can't. Yes, of course it can, because you're making namaparad. So it becomes a vicious circle. And there's no way to get out of that without sadhu sangha. When we hear from a sadhu who has faith in the holy name and who has seen Krishna by chanting the holy name and has experienced the Krishna gradually, his qualities and associates appearing just from the holy name, then one can get faith and overcome these offenses. So, Yena Janmashata Purvam Vasudeva Samachita. One may be on the platform of archan for hundreds of lifetimes. And afterwards, slowly, he may become free from offenses. And after hundreds of lifetimes, then maybe you'll chant the pure name. And so, in this Bhajana-rahasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching us there's a difference between bhajan and archan. And Mahaprabhu's teaching is the teaching of non-bhajan. Paran Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. And what we see among the neophytes, the Prakrita Bhaktas, is a type of illegitimate archanization of the Sankirtan movement. And that's why they remain on the Prakrit platform. Now, the neophyte devotee only understands archan, and that's why his conception of what bhajan is actually archan, because that's all he can understand. So he must associate with sadhus, and by hearing from sadhus and serving them, his adhikar can be elevated. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna tells to Uddhav about the Kanishta Adhikari or the Prakrit Bhakta. He said, Archayam eva haraye, pujam ya sradayate, na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu, sa bhakta prakritasmitaha. That devotee is a Prakrita Bhakta, he's Kanishta Adhikari, he's on the materialistic level. Archayam eva haraye, he's doing archan to Hari. Pujam yasarayate, he does puja, and he has faith in that. But na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu, he does not know how to associate properly with other devotees. And so we see that the neophyte, the Prakrit Bhakta, he may have faith in his own guru and in the deity, but he may have a tendency to commit offenses to other Vaishnavas due to a sectarian spirit. Or he may not recognize the greatness of other Vaishnavas who could help him as a Shiksha Guru. So there's a tendency to, as long as the devotees on the materialistic platform, to misunderstand devotees who are on the transcendental platform. That tendency is there. And this is why, when the 10 offenses are described in Shastra, the first one, Satam Ninda Namnam Paramam Maparadam Vitarate Yatakya Tindyatam Katam Usahate Tad Vikarayam. It means, oh, how can the holy name tolerate the minimization or the criticism towards a devotee who has given his life to the service of the holy name? The holy name is dear to him, and he is dear to the holy name. So if someone will criticize that person, then the holy name will neglect him. That's the first offense. But the reason it's given as the first offense is because in the prakrit stage, the person is doing archan, he doesn't understand the life, the inner life of the devotees who are really doing bhajan. He doesn't have the capacity. So he may make some offenses. There's an example. Perhaps you know that Arjun, he burnt the Kandava forest, the Kandava forest, and at that time there was one Maya Danava. He was in the Kandava forest, and Arjun saved him. So Maya Danava is from the Danavas. The Daityas and Danavas are like they're the demons dynasty. So Maya Danava, he's a great magician and he's an expert architect. So out of gratitude for Arjun saving him from the Kandava forest fire, Maya Danava constructed for Yudhishthira Maharaj in Indraprastha a very beautiful assembly hall, a sabha. And this assembly hall was made with jewels and pearls and coral and so many precious materials. It was very artistic, but it was also filled with optical illusions. So everyone who saw this assembly hall, they were amazed by it. And Duryodhana, who felt a rivalry again with Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas, when he saw it, he was so envious. Wow, I don't have such a palace like this. Seeing the opulence, and that's the nature. While we are conditioned, in the conditioned state, our consciousness is corrupt, and the heart burns seeing the success of others. And if others fail, then the heart feels, oh good, I'm better than that person. I didn't fail like him. So that's the nature. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written it in the song Amara Jivana Sadapapiratanaitu Pujara. Yeah? So the conditioned soul who has an artist, there's some envy there. And this is why the instruction is be very careful. Don't criticize any devotee. Don't do that. Don't fall prey to that tendency. It's there. Be warned and carefully avoid it. So Duryodhana, he was burning in the fire of jealousy. And when he arrived, there was an event going on, and Duryodhana was invited to come. So he came and he entered into the courtyard. And there in the courtyard, there was a floor made of clear crystals. But to him, it looked like an ornamental pond. And he couldn't see a way around it. So he thought, oh, I've got to walk through the water. So he lifted up his dhoti so his dhoti wouldn't get wet. And then he stepped onto the crystals. And it wasn't water. But there were so many guests there who knew about this illusion. And they were all covering their faces and laughing. And so Duryodhana, he felt really embarrassed, humiliated by this. So then he continued and he got further. And then he came to another crystal floor area. And he thought, well, I'm not falling for it this time. Last time I was humiliated. But if I pull up my dhoti again, then there'll be no end to my humiliation. So I'm not going to fall for it this time. And he just marched. But actually this was water. And he just fell splash in the water. Again, all the guests who were there, they were snickering and laughing and making comments to each other. Oh, he was burning more. He was burning more. Then he got up out of the water. And then he went, he saw there was one big archway, a big doorway into the next room in the palace. But actually, it was a crystal window. But it was so clear, he couldn't see that there was a crystal window there. And he just, boom, walked straight into it. And then he had the concussion. So then he thought, I can't go through this door. Let me try the other door. So then he went to another door. This wasn't even a crystal window. It was just a painting on the wall of a door with other things inside in the next room. And then again, he went and bumped into the wall. So then he was really embarrassed. I have to find another way. So then he came to another door, which was really a door. But when he came to that door, he thought, I'm not going to bang my head again, forget it. And he walked past the real door. So just like you're all laughing. So everyone was laughing like that. So he was really, really embarrassed and humiliated. And so that day when he returned to his own palace, he was burning so much that this incident was actually one of the causes for the whole Kurukshetra Yuddha, the battle of Kurukshetra, because he was holding that grudge in his heart against Yudhishthira Maharaj. So all the names of the personalities in the Mahabharata, they're very important. Du means bad. It implies the negative. And Yodhan means one who fights. And so that person who fights unjustly for worldly things, who is a bogey, who is an enjoyer of this world, he can be called Duryodhan. Now you remember that when Krishna went to speak to the Pandavas, to the Kauravas, and offer a peace deal, say, look, we don't want to fight, we don't want to, there should be a war, just give 5 villages so each Pandava brother can at least do their dharma of being a Kshatriya and administrating and protecting people in 1 village each. So Duryodhan, he said, I will not give enough land into which you can drive the head of a pin. That means that it represents the mentality that this whole world is mine and it's for my enjoyment. These things are mine, I will not share them with anyone. This is my area. No other preacher should come here. This is the mentality of Duryodhan. On the other hand, Yudhishthira. Yudha means the one who fights. Sthir means steadfast, who is steady in the struggle for dharma, who is steady in truth and justice, and who is sthir, fighting on behalf of Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So his name is Yudhishthira. His entire purpose is only to fulfill Krishna's desires. So, if you have a person whose only purpose is to fulfill the desire of Krishna, and another person who has a desire to enjoy this world, when these two come together, the one who still desires to enjoy this world cannot understand the heart and mind and the behavior of the one who only desires to please Krishna. They cannot. And what happens is, the person who has desire for this world always inverts and misinterprets the activities, the words and the motivations of the person who only wants to please Krishna. And that is called vivarta. When you see everything upside down, you go into illusion. And so this pastime of Duryodhan, experiencing all the illusions in the palace of Yudhishthira Maharaj, is actually also a metaphor for us. When we are in the prakrit stage, we're in the first stages of spiritual life, and we still have material desires, we have to be very careful. Sri Guru Charna Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma, Bandhu Mohi Savdan. Savdan means be careful. Because when the person who is conditioned and still has some desires meets with the person who has no desire and only wants to meet Krishna, this vivarta may come and we may misinterpret and misunderstand things. So we have to bow down very, very carefully. Because natad bhakteshu chanyeshu, the Prakrita Bhakta doesn't know how to properly associate. So they have to be very careful. So the first offense to the holy name, Satan Ninda, it comes up front. The first thing you have to learn about the holy name. These things are very important. And so, what happened to Duryodhana? He saw jal, water, and thought it was stal, earth. And he saw stal and thought it was jal. He saw the earth and thought it was water. He saw the water and he thought it was earth. So this is vivarta. Everything was backwards. So in the same way, the Prakrita Bhakta, he may see that here is a devotee, but he's near ashray. He has no shelter. This devotee is actually always at every moment in the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, but he thinks, he is near ashray. He has jal. He has no stal. He's not on any firm ground. He may project that. And he himself, he may think, I have shelter. I'm on firm ground. I have money. I have power. I have control over people. Like this. And he thinks, I have shelter and protection. But he has no firm ground at all. He's near ashray. And so this vivarta comes. Who is actually has shelter of Krishna. He thinks, he has no shelter. And then he himself, he thinks, yes, I have shelter, I have protection, I have safety and security. But really, he's still influenced by Maya. He's still influenced by materialistic consciousness. So one should be very careful. So the second chapter of Bhajana-rahasya is the explanation of the second verse of Shikshastakam. Nam namakari bahudani dashava shakti. And that is describing the necessity of criticizing ourselves, not others, and repenting for our mistakes. So, when one gets sadhu sangha, to go to the next stage, bhajana kriya, something is necessary. One needs to receive initiation. So in between sadhu sangha and bhajana kriya is diksha. Yes? So what is diksha? In the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, Panchartrik Diksha, then diksha is called Pancha Sanskar. It's Pancha Ang Diksha. It is diksha which has 5 limbs. And these 5 limbs are called the Pancha Sanskar, the 5 samskars, or deep impressions that we receive. So in the Shastra, it is said, Tapa pundram tata nama mantro yagas cha panchama amihi pancha sanskara paramaikanti haitavaha. So the meaning is that in the initiation, Panchartrik Diksha, there are 5 sanskars, and these are the cause of parama aikanti. Haitava. Haitava means that they are the causes of parama aikanti, supreme concentration, one-pointedness. Because actually any of the angas of bhakti can give perfection. But if our mind is not focused, if it's turbulent, we are vikshipta chitta, we are distracted, then we cannot experience the perfection that comes just from chanting and hearing. And therefore the path of archan and diksha is given. To make the mind become free from vikshipta chitta, from distraction. So how do we do that? There are 5 sanskars. So the first one is called tapa. And traditionally, the guru would have a hot iron in a fire with the symbol of a chakra. Or, the 4 symbols of Lord Vishnu. The chakra, the conch, the lotus flower, or the club. So he would have the symbols of Vishnu in a hot iron, in a fire, and the disciple would come, and the guru will brand him. And then it's burnt onto your arm. And if you go to Udupi, in the Madhva Sampradaya, that's our line has come from that side. Even today, for initiation, you have to. And not only that, this branding, this is not life membership. It's not life membership. You have to renew your membership every year, and every year you have to go back and have it again. You see. So that's a good test, isn't it? Because these days many people go, here and there and say, oh, who wants to take Harinam? Who wants initiation? And I go, yes. But if the Guru came up, I've got this hot iron here. Who wants initiation? Right? So it weeds out, separates the wheat from the chaff. Those who are really serious, who really, really want to take shelter of Sri Krishna. So in the Vedic times, and even today in the Madhva Sampradaya, they follow this Vedic tradition. First you have to burn. But this is external. The inner meaning, all the stages of Diksha have an inner meaning, and the inner meaning is tap means anutap, repentance. One has to feel a burning in his heart that I have wasted my life and I have bad behavior and I am in a fallen condition. I am in need of redemption. I require mercy. I require shelter. So that anutap, that is the first samskar. And this is why no guru should give initiation to a disciple just like that. I mean, Narad Muni can do it. But because he has the power to, just by his glance, make the person lament. Like Mugrari, the hunter. He had the power, he showed him, look, in your future life all the animals are waiting for you and they can't wait to cut you to pieces and eat you. And then he started to lament. Right? So, if the Guru, who doesn't have that power to give the vision of the future and cause the person to immediately lament, then by Harikatha and by association, gives that impression. So the prospective disciple takes shelter and slowly, and when the Guru sees that the disciple has now become sincere and really wants to change his ways, now the first anger of the Diksha, the first sanskar is done, tapa. Then the next one is pundram. Pundram is tilak. So pundram is not this tilak, 3 lines like this. That is for the Shivites, Mayavadis, imposters. Our tilak goes up. Urdhva pundram. Urdhva means up. And what that means is that the vision, the goals, the ambitions of that disciple are all rooted up in the spiritual world. See? So there are 2 things. First, the regret means to turn away from material life. The tapa means to turn away from material life. And then giving tilak, Urdhva Pundra, means now to look up at the spiritual life. We can take our own pulse and see, do we have ambitions? Are our ambitions rooted in some temporal event in this physical world? Or are all our ambitions collected and focused on the eternal service of Radha and Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the spiritual world? So that's the meaning of tilak. It means to turn we were bahimukh, turned away from Krishna. And the tilak means to become Krishnunmukh, completely with all our desires facing towards the spiritual world. Sundar. So then the third sanskar is nam, to receive the holy name and to change your name. Before your name was whatever, Raju Patel, whatever. But now your name is Radharaman, Das. The name should be given with Das, that we no longer identify with our caste, with our country, with our province, with our material family dynasty, all of these things. No. I am the Das of Krishna, Krishna Das. So to receive the name is to receive the holy name and to change one's name to a spiritual name, to give up all identification with the previous history. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Purva itihasa pulinu sakala seva sukha paye mane amito toma tumito amar hikaja aparadane. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Oh my Lord, in the happiness of serving you, I've forgotten my own past history. All I know is that you are mine, Krishna, you are mine, and I am yours. What else is there to know? Yeah. I have no other kikaja aparadane. I have no other business. So that is the meaning of Nam. Then the fourth samskar is mantra, the Diksha mantra. So by receiving the Diksha mantra, Gopal mantra, our relationship with Krishna is established, and then we can serve the deity. So the fifth sanskar is to be engaged in that is called yag. Here yag means ija, worship. So to be situated in in a regulated life and serving the deity every day in a regulated life. That's the fifth samskar of Diksha. And these five together are the cause of Paramaikanti Hedava, the concentration, the mind becomes steady. And with a steady mind, then we can avail ourselves of the experience of the mercy of the holy name. So in the Archan stage, you can see Krishna when you come in front of the deity. But when the mind becomes steady, then Hare Krishna. It is called the Shabda Archa. The deity is Archa Vigraha. But the holy name is the Shabda Archa, the sound deity. And we can have the darshan of the sound deity and gradually begin to serve the Shabda Archa. So, that's it. Can we continue a little bit? You have time? I don't know how long. Go on. How much? Little bit more. Yes, sir. So, as you know, this is the 150th anniversary of the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's appearance in this world. So during this year, for the whole year leading up to his birthday, we had a big celebration. So I remember coming here, about 6 months ago, and we had offered to Srila Prabhupada this Gaudiya Darshan, very beautiful lecture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur in profound philosophy. But when just now this year his birthday came around, we had to give another birthday present to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So we published another book of the Katha of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur that was never published before. It's called Vedic Wisdom Tales. And though this book was a very challenging philosophical book, this one is the opposite of that. This is 34 very simple stories. Even children can read the stories. And at the end of each story, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gives some inner meaning, some special meaning that an ordinary person could not extract, but the pure devotees, they can see the different dimensions of the teaching in every story. So it's very beautiful. So I want to touch on some of the points that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur makes from here related to, now we're discussing the second chapter of Bhajana-rahasya. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives many verses of how our acharyas in the past were crying for the mercy of Sri Krishna. So in the Vedic Wisdom Tales, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he gives the example of Dhruva Maharaj. And he's focusing on the lamentation, the repentance of Dhruva Maharaj. Because he did very hard austerities. And after 6 months of intense austerity, giving up food, giving up water, giving up even breathing, giving up sleeping, he had the darshan of the Supreme Lord. And he offered prayers for the Supreme Lord. But after Lord Narayan disappeared, then Dhruva Maharaj was criticizing himself and lamenting. And this is the main point that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur stresses. That Dhruva was saying, how unfortunate I am. Even though I was present there at the lotus feet of Sri Hari, who can destroy all material existence, but still I desired perishable things. You know, he became the king for 35,000 years. And then after that, he went to the pole star. He didn't go outside of the coverings of the universe. And so, Dhruva Maharaj, he is criticizing himself and saying, I'm like a completely poor person who met with an emperor. And the emperor said, I'll give you anything what you want. And I said, oh, can you give me some pieces of rice? I was like that. Why, when I saw Sri Hari, when I saw Bhagwan, why didn't he wanted to give me Sevamrita. He wanted to give me the nectar of his service. But I didn't ask him. I was impelled by foolishness. And I rashly desired the objects of pride. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he puts his emphasis on, we know the story of Dhruva Maharaj, but what should we take? What are we asking the Lord for? What do we really want? We should, if we have attachments for worldly things, And one should criticize himself for that. In the history of Ajamil also, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur puts a great emphasis on the lamentation of Ajamil. After he saw the 4 Vishnu Dutas glorifying the power of the holy name to the Yamadutas, and then they disappeared. Then afterwards, Ajamil, there are many verses in Srimad Bhagavatam when he's criticizing himself. Oh, what happened to me? I was living a Brahminical life, but I became bewildered. I spoiled my life, and I spoiled the reputation of my whole family by conceiving children in the womb of a low-class prostitute. And it's all because I had bodily identification. And then Ajamil makes vows. From today, I am making a vow that I will no longer identify with my body and mind. That I will act in such a way that my actions are not decided. I don't make decisions informed by the physical and the mental coverings of the self. I will not do that anymore. I am an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, and I will act as if I am the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. And I will relinquish all bodily conception of I and mine, and remain always in a purified consciousness by constantly chanting the holy names. So these are, everyone knows the story of Ajamil, but what we have to assimilate is his lamentation, his repentance, and his vow, his sankalpa, that I will not go in that direction again. I will not be dictated to by the material designations, but I'll remain always going in the direction of pure service, and by chanting continuously the holy names. The story of Bharat Maharaj is here as well. Here, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur focuses on the lamentation of Bharat Maharaj, that he criticized himself. Alas, alas, I succeeded in coming to such a point in my life when I was thinking of the Lord at every moment. But even then I wasn't careful. And due to my carelessness, I became attached to a small baby deer. And I felt that I neglected my chanting, I neglected my meditation, all devotional activities, because I became infatuated by something in this world. So then my sadhana, which had come to a good stage, gradually became slack. Slack. Huh? You have to see in your life. Bharat Maharaj became attached to one deer. But how many deer do we have in our life? And these things are making our bhajan slack. Even, let's say, even our archan slack. Right? Our sadhana, our practice becomes slack. And it's only because of attachment. Not to one thing, 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things. It's very serious. So, this is Bhajana-rahasya. This is confidential knowledge. We cannot just imagine and speculate ourselves into the spiritual world. We have to go through these stages. In other words, our devotional practice cannot be just a ritual or a fashion. Oh, he's wearing tilak, I also wear tilak. He's singing and dancing, I also sing and dance. There has to be a corresponding internal evolution going on. And so, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Bhajana-rahasya has given the verses which express the emotions of the devotee as they're undergoing that corresponding internal evolution. So it's very, very subtle, very unprecedented Shastra. So today, so far, we have described the analysis of the first chapter, something of the second chapter, from the perspective of the Ajata Rati Sadak. The Sadak has not attained bhav. So, Madhurena Samarpayat. It is said you always have to end with the sweet things. So today I served out a very big dish full of Kerala. But Kerala is important. It purifies your blood and increases the digestion. Otherwise, if we have some sweets, If you have no digestion, you can get diabetes. So, but though my class today was so much Kerala, bitter things, but it's necessary. I can tell the truth because you are not paying me. I am not working for anyone, I'm only working for Guru and Krishna. So I can say what I want. If you don't like it, go. So, but my Gurudev always used to say, Madhurena samarpayat. You have to end with the sweet, sweet things. So I just want to touch a little on what is the mood in this Pratanyam sadhan of the Jatarati sadhan. These things we also have to hear something. Right? Otherwise, how will we develop greed? To attain our goal, we'll have to make a great sacrifice. But we'll only make a great sacrifice if we have some idea of what is our goal is something so beautiful that it's worth making the sacrifice. So in Nishanta Lila, in 3:36 in the morning, now come with me. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jai Gopi Jan Vallabha, Jai Gopi Jan of the Jamuna in Vrindavan. In the springtime, all the flowers are blossoming. There's a very gentle breeze. The forest is filled with the fragrance of beli, chameli, jui, madhavi, malsri, bakula, even amra manjaris, the fresh buds of which are blossoming on the mango trees. There in the early morning, Radha and Krishna are asleep. They're sleeping, they're embracing each other and just sleeping peacefully. And all the Sakhis also have rested, and even the Manjaris, just outside the beautiful kunja of Radha Krishna, the Manjaris, they just fell asleep for a few minutes. And now this Nishanta is coming, the night is about to end. And at that time, those who are dasis, the maidservants of Srimati Radhika, then suddenly they open their eyes and sit up in anxiety, in great anxiety. Why? This is the first emotion of the morning, anxiety. Did I oversleep? Did I miss my service? Did Radha Krishna already wake up? And I was not there to serve them. So the first thing, as soon as the devotee opens his eyes, anxiety. So then, the maidservants of the Radha and Krishna, they quickly get up. And the sadhak also, he thinks, oh, he's Guru Rupa Sakhi. He goes and wakes up also, Guru Rupa Sakhi. Don't go to Radha Krishna alone. And so then, that devotee, in his spiritual form, along with Guru in his spiritual form, they quickly get up and they go to see, did Radha Krishna wake up yet or not? Did we miss our service? And then they look through the lattice windows of the Nikunj, and there they see Sisi Radha Madhav, still asleep, and then they, it's a big relief. They're still sleeping, we're okay. And inside that kunj, there are so many jewel deeps. But on one side, the jewel deeps are shining with reflecting golden colors. And on the other side, the jewel deeps are reflecting the sham color. Because the light emanating from the bodies of Radha and Krishna is the sparkling in the jewels inside the kunj. Very beautiful vision at that time. So then, they think, oh, we have time. So then they begin to prepare some sandalwood paste, some agur, prepare some tambu, bring chamar, and the various things. And then, now the night is ending, and first the breeze blows. And when the breeze blows, then the bumblebees will also sleep. First the bees wake up. And then the bees begin to hum. And the humming of the bees wakes up Brinda Devi. And then Brinda Devi, she wakes up, and then she tells the birds, so now you should begin to sing. She tells first the cockerel. Or you should call, because in the early morning before the sun rises, then the cockerel. Cock-a-doo-doo. She tells the cockerel to call. And then Radhika, she was sleeping, but she hears the cockerel calling. I said, oh, go in hell. And then there was silence. And then she thought, oh, he went to hell. So now morning has been cancelled, I'll stay here. Because how can the sun rise if the cock does not crow? Really, actually, she's not giving a curse. Radhika is full of love. Why she will give a curse? She loves every bird and every bumblebee of the whole of Brajabandam. But she speaks like that, but out of love. Just like sometimes, if there's a mother and they see the child, and the child is doing something dangerous, then the mother will say, yes, go and kill yourself. It means the opposite. It doesn't mean kill yourself. It's only spoken out of love. So Radhika, she's speaking out of love, but it's an expression that she doesn't want to be separated from Sri Krishna. So then at that time, the Brinda Devi tells the other birds to sing. The peacocks sing, the cuckoo birds sing, and the pigeons, and they all begin to sing, and the sound is so beautiful. And gradually, Radha and Krishna, they become to open their eyes and get up, and they stretch. Wow. And Krishna looks like a bow made of sapphires, and Radhika looks like a golden bow made of golden champak flowers, and they stretch and yawn. And when they yawn, then the light shines from their teeth. And it's as if their teeth are offering arti to each other's faces. The light from their teeth is illuminating each other's faces, and as if offering arti. And the maidservants outside and watching this beautiful waking up of Radha and Krishna. So then Brinda Devi tells the parrots to sing, and the parrots fly to the Kunj and begin to glorify Krishna. Oh Krishna, you are the ocean of rasa. You are the ocean of all loving pastimes. But now, this night is called Kshanada. The Sanskrit word for night is Ratri, but there's another word for night, Kshanada. So Kshanada, Shan can mean a moment, and Da means one who gives. But this night only gives a moment of happiness, because now the night is over. Or it can be Kshanada. Kshan means a festival of joy, and Da can come from Doda to cut. So this night is one who cuts your happiness, because now it quickly came to an end. So in this way, the parrots are gently reminding Radha Krishna, it's time to return. Now you'll have to return to your village, because there'll be a scandal. If you don't get back in time, then all the villagers will wake up and see you returning. And then it will be a scandal in the village. So then, Radha Krishna, they sit up and they have no balance. They lean on each other. They're feeling around because their eyes have not properly opened yet. And they're feeling around trying to find Krishna's looking for his pitambar. But by accident, he takes Radhika on his blue cloth. Radharani is feeling around for her blue cloth. By accident, takes Krishna's pitambar. So then, at that time, the maidservants enter into the kunj, and they take the deeps. So just like in Mangalarti we come with the deeps and offer to Radha Krishna, they take the deeps, the lamps, and they're looking to see, that the cosmetics of Krishna is a agur, is a kasturi, is on the body of Radhika, and the kumkum from Radhika and lipstick and eyeliner is on the body of Krishna. And they see where it is, and then they take a cloth and some water, and they gradually wipe it all away. So in Mangalarti, we first offer deeps, and then we give some water, and then we take a handkerchief, like this. So in Ragamarg, the devotees are remembering how this beautiful service of preparing Radharani and Krishna to return to their homes is going on. And also, the maidservants of Radhika, they show her a mirror. And when Radharani sees the reflection in the mirror and sees the marks of her playing with Krishna, then she's so satisfied. Why? Because previously, before she set out, she saw her beauty in the mirror, but this beauty had not been enjoyed and tasted by Krishna. But now she's seeing all the beauty has been relished by Krishna, so she feels very satisfied by that. So then Radharani tells Krishna, oh, my hair is disheveled, you should fix my hair. There's no altar on my feet, you should return the altar like this. And then Krishna is very happily serving Radhika, combing her hair and decorating her. But before Krishna can finish everything, the time is running out. So Brinda thinks this is an emergency. I have to get them to leave the kunj. So then Brinda tells one old monkey, Kakati, to say, oh, now the sun will rise and the rays of the sun. So one meaning that the sun is rising like an ascetic, like a female ascetic who has jata, matted locks of hair. So just as the sun rises with rays, it's like an ascetic lady with matted locks of hair. So the monkey is saying this poetry, but the word for the matted locks of hair of the ascetic of the rising sun is Jotila. So when Radha and Krishna hear the word Jotila, then they became afraid, and then everything they're doing, they drop and quickly get up, and they come out from the kunj. When they come out from the kunj, then the maidservants of Radhika, some of them, they quickly go inside, and they're looking for what? Because Radhika's necklaces have been broken and scattered here and there, the jewels are here and there. So they go and they pick up the jewels and collect them so they can restring the necklaces of Srimati Radhika. And they're also looking for, there are some places where there's the chewed tongue bowl of Radha Krishna, and they take their remnants. Or there may be a cup with some remnants of the honey wine that Radha and Krishna were drinking as well. So in this way, they collect the different types of Mahaprasad from the kunj, and they share it with their sakhis. Very, very beautiful pastimes. So then, it's time for Radha Krishna, they start to leave and head towards their home. So as they're walking, then they have so many emotions. On the one hand, Radha Krishna feels fear. They think, what if someone will see us? On the other hand, they feel attachment for each other. So their attachment for each other is making them walk with their arm around each other. And their fear is trying to separate them. So these two emotions, they're pulling with each other. And when Krishna puts his arm on the shoulder of Radhika, and Radhika puts her arm on the shoulder of Sri Krishna, then they look like a beautiful rain cloud decorated with a flash of lightning. So as they go through the forest, when the peacocks in the forest see them, you know what peacocks do when they see a cloud with lightning? They spread their tails and they begin to dance. So as Radha Krishna are going through the forest, then the peacocks have this illusion that it's a cloud and lightning. And the peacocks spread their tails and tremble and call, "Peacock, peacock, woo!" Like this. And not only that, but even the Sakhis and Manjaris, when they see Radha and Krishna, their beauty is such that they also see these illusions. It's a shocking, that moment, just for a moment they have a flash. Oh, it's like a flash of lightning and a rain cloud. So then, as they're going through the forest, Radharani is looking here and there. And in the forest there was one tree, an old tree, and the branches were broken. It was just like a stump with a few branches coming out. It was a little bit like the form of a human being. And she thought, it's Jotila. And Radha Krishna became so afraid. And then they noticed, no, it's not Jotila. It's a tree stump. And then as they continued going through the forest, they were looking here and there. And they began to see Jyotilas everywhere. Because they're so scared of getting caught. It's all fun and games when they're in the forest, but now they're going back to the village. And the sun is about to rise. And they're really, really in anxiety. And it's as if everywhere they look, they can just see Jyotila's face coming. Angry face coming from them. At them at every direction. So then, they get to one place. And there's a village in Braj, which is near Nandagaon. Where, when Radha Krishna are going home, there's a certain point where they have to separate and go different directions. Because Yavat is over here, and Nandagaon is over there. So the village at that point where they separate, it's called Domahan. Two means two hearts. Because they felt like they were one heart. But now they have to separate. So then when they go, Radhika takes Krishna's heart with her, and Krishna takes Radhika's heart with this Domahan. So at that last moment, when they come to the point where the two have to separate, they look at each other for one last time of that morning. And when Radha Krishna look at each other, that last glance, it's so pathetic. And all the mantras are watching and they all start to cry. And then Radhika goes this way with her Sakhis and Krishna goes that way to try to sneak in his home. But an amazing thing happens. When Radha Krishna separates, when they were looking at each other, their faces were glowing. There was a glow coming from their face. An intense luster. Why? Mahabhav. Mahabhav has this Yavadashraya vritti where the love is overflowing from their forms and affecting everything around them. But then when they separate and they have to go back to their village, then this glow subsides and the luster disappears. And then it becomes the beauty of Krishna and the beauty of Radha that everyone else sees. That Madhyashoda sees Krishna's beautiful. The coward boy sees Krishna's beautiful. But Radha Sangha Yadabhati Tada Madana Mohana. Krishna's only Madan Mohan when he is with Radhika. In other words, when he comes to Radhika, then because Radhika has Mahabhav and Krishna, he reciprocates. So then Krishna only comes into the state of Mahabhav when he meets privately with Radhika. And so then both of them become effulgent. But when they separate, then their luster disappears. So they're still beautiful, of course, but not that beauty which those in Madhurya Rasa can relish in liquid. So like this, and on the one side, Krishna's going home to Nandagaon, and Radhika is just now approaching the mother-in-law's house, Jyotila Haveli, in Yavat. And as Radhika is approaching, at that time, she speaks to Lalita Sakhi. And she says to Lalita Sakhi, "What are you doing? Oh Lalite, what are you doing? You brought me out of my home in the evening with the promise that I would meet with Sri Krishna. And now you're bringing me back here. Why did you build up my hopes for no reason?" In other words, when Mahabhav comes, it obliterates all memory of everything else. It's like going into samadhi, into a trance. And Radha Krishna only remember each other, they cannot remember anything else. And now the Mahabhav has subsided. And Radhika has come in the stage of Anurag. Then, it's as if Lalita brought out of the house the previous night. "Oh Radhika, come with me to meet with Krishna." And she's just experiencing that I came out of the house with Lalita and she took me in a circle and brought me back and she never took me to meet him. Can you imagine? This is called Anurag. Intense Anurag is such that Krishna is newer and newer at every moment. And even though Radhika may experience the happiness of meeting with Krishna, the next moment she forgets and feels as if she's never seen him. That's why the village in Navadvip where Radha Kund is called Kobla. Kobla comes from the Sanskrit Kobala. Who's that boy? After meeting with Krishna, when Radhika's leaving, she turns round and asks Lalita, "Kobala, who's that boy?" He said, "What are you talking about? I brought you to him. For the whole night you were sitting in his lap." But I know, who is he? This is the intensity of Anurag. So Radhika begins to criticize Lalita. You brought me out and you brought me around and you brought me back. Why did you make my hopes become so high? And then she looks and the sun is rising. Radhika says, I just remember just this minute. I saw the sun setting and now it's coming up again. What happened to the night? Was there no night today? Did the sun just go down and come straight up? Was the night cancelled? This is the anurag. And then Radhika, she sneaks. She comes to the threshold of the house of Jyotila. And she has the highest anxiety. The anxiety has come to the highest point. Will I be seen? Will I be seen? And she manages to get to her room and get in bed and lie down. And then, and she feels like, oh, no one saw me. No one saw me leaving. And she feels some satisfaction from that. And on the other side, Krishna, now he's doing the last leg of the journey back to his home. And he's seeing, he looks behind and he's seeing Jyotila and Kutila behind him. He looks in front and he's seeing his uncles and the elderly persons of his village, Abhinanda and Upananda. They're not there, but out of fear he's seeing them. He looks to one side and he sees Padma and Shaibya because he's afraid that the friends, the Sakis of Chandravali, if the Sakis of Chandravali will see him, then they'll become very upset and they'll give pain to Chandravali. So just as before he was seeing Jyotila everywhere, now Krishna's seeing Jyotila, he's seeing Kutila, he's seeing his own relatives, he's seeing the Sakis of Chandravali. So his anxiety is very high. And then he comes to the entrance of the Nanda Bhavan and quickly he goes to his room and then he shuts the door and he lies down and goes to sleep. Oh, unfortunate, no one. We were not caught yet. We took a big risk, but we were not discovered. And then Krishna goes to sleep. This is the Nishayanta Lila, the first yam of the Bhajana-rahasya. Today also we discuss something of the second yam by according to the perspective of the Ajatarati Sadak. But we've run out of time now. Tomorrow we'll tell something about the Jatarati Sadak. And we'll try to, tomorrow and the next day, if we can complete another 2 chapters and then another 2 chapters, 6 chapters, just the overview of those chapters, then I think that the visit to this holy place will be successful. Bhai Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Bhare Saniwal ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam, Gaur Premanande.